There's a question every property management leader is asking right now. Who is actually going to run all this AI? You're already feeling bogged down, maybe even drowning in the day-to-day, and AI just feels like one more massive project that lands on your plate. But what if your job isn't to be the AI expert? What if your real job is to find the person who can be? That's why I had to get Courtney Parks on the show. She's here to make the case that the most important new role on your org chart isn't another ops manager, it's the AI Integrator. In this conversation, Courtney gives us the exact profile of the person to look for. And here's the spoiler. It's not who you think. It's the tinkerer, the lifelong learner, the person who, in her case, had zero property management experience, and that was their superpower. We get into the fail-forward leadership mindset you need to empower them and the exact tools they're using, from custom GPTs to a game-changing played voice recorder that's transforming her client meetings. If you're ready to stop being the bottleneck and finally get out of the total burnout cycle, this conversation is your playbook. I promise this is a frame-breaking conversation with the brilliant Courtney Parks. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. So, Courtney, you and I shared a stage at the second AI Summit that Vendoroo put on. And then you're somebody that has, we selected you to be on that stage because you have had success implementing AI inside of your company. And I think the question that we want to ask is, we want to ask a couple of questions here. One is, what does it take to do that so that if I am a property management business owner and it's not me, I can identify someone. And I think within that, we can also talk about, what you're actually doing with AI and, what there is to learn from these 16 years that you've been in that maybe the younger generation doesn't get and the older generation has already tuned out. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is, figuring out who's going to lead your charge in the AI world, because we all know that it's not going anywhere. I think, 2 years ago, we all could have ignored it a little bit or stuck our head in the sand. But at this point, you're getting hit over top of the head with AI. So we cannot ignore it anymore. And if you're of the generation that's saying I'm overwhelmed by it or it's too much, then that's fine. But you have to find someone who can do it for you. And something that we spoke about during that AI summit was looking at your org chart. Realistically, a new job description is an AI or a systems implementer, which 5 years ago, people would have laughed at that. It would have sounded really trendy or made up. I love seeing these new job descriptions, and I'm guilty of them as well. It's client success manager. And it's true though, because you need to have someone that is going to set your clients up for success. And it could be this, you're kind of wrapping a bow up on someone who was already doing all of the heavy lifting with the onboarding and making sure your clients are happy at the end of the day. But now we're looking at who's your integrator, who's your systems and workflow manager. And that was something that was kind of either just assumed that someone did, or it wasn't a true place in your work chart and in your org chart. And so for me, as soon as I was able to identify who could do it for me and figure out it didn't have to be me, that's when we truly became successful in navigating the AI world.
Interesting. So you're not the actual AI integrator. You have just figured out how to select and manage and lead an AI integrator.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm definitely curious and I love trying out new things and I have the vision of what I want to implement. But I'm also the person that doesn't update their computer when they sends you I'm no, not now. Delay, snooze. So for me, it was that balancing act of my, client success manager is 10 years younger than me, and he has his finger on the pulse. And he was able to kind of bring things to my mind that I didn't quite know how to get there, but he did.
Mm.
So he became the implementer to like my visionary, and it was super cool. And that's when things really started moving.
And does he have, all right, tell me more about him. Is he your integrator full stop, or is there something special about him that makes him an AI integrator? I'll stop there.
Yeah, so I think he is a naturally curious person, and he's told me time and time again he loves solving problems. So I think those two traits really made it so that his superpower was like figuring out a way to solve a problem that, and because he didn't even have property management background, which I think made it even better because he was able to approach perhaps like an old school way to approach a problem would be looking at it through the lens of property management versus just like this is a problem that any business could have. And it's not necessarily property management that needs to figure out how I can eliminate the need to send multiple updates to, how do I automate this? It really, and he's remote, which was fantastic. I hired him originally as a leasing coordinator, and he was able to pick stuff up so quickly. And he had the vision for how we could make our clients' lives better and our residents' lives better. And that was just like, that's how you become profitable. That's how you get reputation, and that's how you get more business. So everyone's scared of AI because they're worried it's going to replace people, but it's not. It's just going to make us be able to tackle more things than we ever could, and it's going to make us look better doing it.
I love it. I'm gonna speak now probably for a couple of minutes here, which is longer than I like to, but I just want to like I pick out a couple of things
Yeah.
that you just said that I find that I have seen like over and over and over again that I want to validate a lot of what you just said, and then I'm gonna kick it back to you, right? So number one is this person, the core skill set is that they are a tinkerer. Who is a tinkerer is a person that's curious about something and a person that likes to like iterate until they solve the problem. Like once they find a problem that they're curious about, they're going to just iterate until they do it, right? Like I have seen that I see that across our clientele base, right? Like actually, I'm just gonna extrapolate that to, I'll land with like why I know this, right? Like, so it's a tinkerer. Another thing that I heard you say is they come from outside the industry, right?
Hmm.
Like there is so much value. I think so much of my value in business and in life and to other people is the like 8 years I spent in my early 30s, like volunteering for nonprofits and going to networking events 2, 3 times a week because I learned all these different things that all these other people are doing and I can now apply it. And particularly right now with AI, it's really just like I say this over and over again, but we're all in first week of freshman year of college. It really doesn't matter how cool you were in high school, right? Like the future is here and it's different than the past, and whoever figures out AI first is going to win. So like I say that to say that you're not really taxed to not having done this before because like the old way isn't necessarily going to serve you. And two, like you're also unspoiled from like an attachment from the past, right? Like people
Yeah.
who win right now are gonna like see the future and reverse engineer it, not try to be like, what can I bring forward, kind of
In
thing.
many ways, it's a level playing field for those who are willing to give it a try and not be so scared that you're just going to run away from it.
Yeah, yeah, and I say those two things because what we've realized at Vendoroo is that our first wave of people that succeeded with AI had someone with these exact characteristics, like inside of it, right? Like I think of Bill Davy, who like I call he calls himself the AI czar. The broker owner found him working at Lowe's, brought him in to just like look at maintenance and be like, hey, maybe you can be the maintenance guy because you're handy and you know all this stuff. And he just came at it with a fresh perspective. Was like, all right, I'm going to do this AI first. Tinkerer, dude, literally just call me. Like he'll text me every once in a while and be like, I just reached 100% automation this week in maintenance. And then today he called me. He's like, dude, I just built in this like agent with Gemini that has now started to automate owner reports for me from the
Mm-hmm.
right. So he's like taking it further because he sees himself not a maintenance guy but an AI czar, and we see that across our customer base. So one of the big things that we've been doing that we've implemented, right? You just mentioned that role of customer success. Customer success is a job for, like when we looked at our org chart, we still kind of looked like a software company. It was sales, customer success, account management. marketing, blah, 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 product,
Hmm.
whatever. What we realized is that we need to build that layer. Like some people are going to have somebody like you and what's the name of your
His
AI?
name's Sal,
And Sal,
Salvador.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like a Salvador, and other people are going to need kind of like a gap, like a gap filler that represents that person that's going to do that inside of people's businesses. So we've built a layer of AI coaches inside of our business that aren't necessarily customer success. They're more like tinkerers, right?
Yeah.
They take you from out of flow to inflow, meaning when you onboard, you're not you have don't even have a flow, right? So like they're there for onboarding. Then as you start learning it, they're there to help you tinker with it. And then once you master it, they're there to help you dial it in with everything around you, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we've seen. So like everything that you're saying, it rings really, really true to me. And what I find really valuable of what you're saying is that A, it didn't have to be you, and B, this person might already exist inside of your business. They might have a different
Yep.
job title. They just need to have these qualifications.
Well, and one thing I would say that kind of was a giveaway as we were working and I was training him, and admittedly, I did not have a great foundation of like mapping out my own workflows, and it was, but he would not just ask how to do something, he would ask why we were doing it that way. And the way he would ask it, I loved it because it never felt, it didn't put me on the defense. It was more like, hey, walk me through why why does A plus B equal C? Because we could do it with like Z and D and still get, and it just, his thought process, it wasn't linear. So I
Mhm.
would say that was a huge kind of like a light bulb went off. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy can do so much more than he's doing right now. So we pulled in
Mhm.
someone else. We had him train that person. And
Mhm.
then it's just like, what can I throw on you? What do
Yeah.
you want? And instead of me even delegating, it's like him asking and thinking even one step ahead of me. And it
Mm.
just, I couldn't even fathom it 2 years ago.
Yeah. So now what I'm hearing is, right, curious tinkerer. It's thinks beyond property management, like brings extra context to it and isn't afraid to do it. But I'm also hearing non-judgmental questioner, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
like people that what you just described is someone's like, oh, help me understand why it's like this, because I could see it like that, but I'm also open to hearing your idea. Not like, why would I do it that way, right? Like,
Well, and honestly, that was huge because
yeah.
I've admittedly been doing the same job for 16 years. So, and a lot of times you end up doing stuff out of habit. And if you're so bogged down from the day to day, you don't even have the creative wherewithal to think like, I could do this differently. No, you're just trying to get through the day. And that was me. That was, total burnout. And to have someone come and question my thinking and make me rethink was refreshing. And the way he did it was very productive.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are all really good signals. Talk to me about, I want to dive a little deeper into like, so then I just started giving him more stuff. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, a lot of it was like collaborative. I invited him in on our Better Who AI mastermind. And some of it was, again, him playing around. So it's finding someone who has the enjoyment there. Anything that doesn't feel like a job is going to be successful, in my opinion, if you enjoy what you're doing. He dove deep into Google LM. He actually, before Google LM Notebook was a thing, he was trying to create like our own internal Wikipedia page through Google Forms. And he was already using a lot of the software for his university that he was going to school at the same time. And so what was interesting is a lot of the toys, I would say they're not toys, but he was using them for like papers, or like he was using them on his own time, and then finding a way to incorporate that into the job. It was amazing because he's like, oh yeah, I can't even think of what it was called now. I used something to do Google Slides recently, and you dump, your outline in, and it gives you all of your Google Slides. Jay's going to kill me for not remembering what it was called. But he's like, oh yeah, I used that for my presentation at school already and had already mastered how to do it.
That's another signal that I'm hearing loud and clear. These folks have been tinkering with this stuff, not in their own job, right? Like
Yeah.
there's like they will often either, oh, I'm using this tool for something else at school, like you said, or oh, I was just kind of building my own little agent on the side to do my own little hobby thing, right? Like
Yeah, like a
that's
lifelong learner is
yeah,
what you need
yeah.
for that position.
Yeah, lifelong learner, and the evidence of them like doing something on the side with it is big, right? Like that reminds me of Juan on our team, who's one of our AI coaches, like out of Colombia as well. Like he's like the type of guy that's just like, dude, why are we doing it like everything that you just said, right? But like
Yeah.
like the big signal was like he had built something on the side that he's doing, so I know he can now help clients do that stuff. It's also something that as we continue to build this rollout and build this layer inside of Vendoroo is something I look for in job interviews, right? Like it's
Yeah.
what I'm asking. What have you built with AI that has nothing to do with your job?
Yeah, I think that's genius. And man, what was I gonna? I totally lost my train of thought there. Oh, I as even before AI kind of went crazy, when I first started, looking to international team members, I'm never concerned about having property management experience. To me, foundational skills such as like, can you like put a fire out with a, can you de-escalate? Are
Mhm.
you polite? Can you like multitask? Those are way more important to me than if you know what a work order is. Like I can, in my mind, you can be, if you have those foundation skills, I can teach you just about anything. And I think that's how I got my job. I think I didn't have a lick of experience, but I was poised enough and I had the interpersonal skills to basically talk myself out of any situation. And that's what a lot of property management is, especially when you're in like the lower ranking, like, think about a maintenance coordinator and you're like dropping a bomb on a client that they have
On
mold
the
in their
front
house.
lines. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, you are. You're on the front line.
yeah.
So to me, it's experience is like on a scale of 1 to 10. That's like a 0. I don't need it.
I'm glad we can agree on this, right? Because I also got this job with zero experience, right? Like I've never held a marketing title in my life. I never had a marketing degree in my life. I've just always studied influence and how the brain works and how to make friends and influence people.
Yeah.
And I literally just got a text from a buddy of mine that was like, he sent me a quote and he's like, "Hey, this comes from like the one marketing book you told me to read. Can you tell me which one it is?" And it was from How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Like,
Yep.
so these like foundational principles, I was just on now that I am in marketing and whatnot. I was on LinkedIn and recently was commenting on another marketing thought leader that I'm friends with, talking about how like AI is changing what the skill sets you need in marketing and basically saying I think this has always been true. This idea of like if you have these like first principles ingrained, you can learn the on the job stuff anyways. But AI
Hmm.
is only accelerating the idea that what you really need is like emotional intelligence, people skills,
Yes.
and like this the first principle stuff for any job.
1000%. And the tools that we have nowadays are, if you're able to leverage them, like Jen Rulins, she is leveraging her video
Yeah.
like no one I am even seeing. And you don't, it's like proof that you don't need like a camera crew following you around, right? But you are able to take content if you can like be creative and get
Mhm.
it out there. It's amazing to me. Anybody can be an influencer if they have the motivation.
Yeah, correct. You no longer, right. I learned a lot of the principles of like content and whatever from Gary Vee. And like, he was like this guy he was the first guy that hired somebody full time that was a cameraographer following him around. And it's like, that was in 2010, totally necessary. These days, I feel like I put out as much content as he does, and I don't have, it's like iPhone, Zoom calls, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the Gen program, right? Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Honestly, it's like the
Yeah.
more you overthink stuff,
Yeah.
the worse off you are.
Yeah.
Like it's like the kiss method.
Yeah, yeah. So where my head is going right now, based on what I asked you before we started the show, before we let our,
Yes.
friend in, this
Yeah.
idea of like what's the keynote that you're going to give? I really do think that I think your keynote is how to find the right AI integrator in your job, right? Like, I think if we're going to like review what we were just talking about here
Yeah.
of finding a tinkerer, finding somebody that isn't ruined by the industry already,
Yes.
finding somebody that's built something outside of it, someone that's curious and asks questions from a non-judgmental place, and you can like interlace it with stories of you and Salvador and what you built. I think is a rock solid keynote.
Yeah, yeah, I feel a part of me feels like it's like being proud of like a child that you had nothing to do with. Like I just feel like he's amazing and I feel like very little responsibility for who he is. But I will say I trusted him almost immediately. Like we just kind of had this instant bond where
Yeah.
I trusted him to run with certain things and the ability to to kind of let someone handle something, even if you're scared it's not going to be handled the way you would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dive into that. Because let's dive into like the leadership principles that I've worked here. What I hear there is you have to be comfortable letting somebody fail forward. When
Yeah.
it comes to this AI stuff, the way that I put it, it's like we are so the rate of change is so rapid that you can't wait to figure it out to implement it. You gotta do it to figure it out.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that feels key, right? Talk to me about kind of like your relationship with failure and allowing other people to like fumble the ball, even though you know it might happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I came up in this industry, honestly, and very little training, very much like, trial by fire. And I didn't always make the right choices, but if you make the right mistakes, then you will learn from them. My husband loves to say the biggest mistakes are the ones that cost you the most, or, you learn from the expensive ones. And I do think there's a lot to be said where I don't know if you've heard of The Anxious Generation. It's a book that came out about how this new generation of children are like very afraid of like kind of external factors because of the overparenting. And one of the big takeaways from that book is like kids don't learn how to make good choices if unless they're presented with risk. They have to be put in situations
Yeah.
where their brain has to figure out what is right and wrong. So,
Yeah.
in a lot of times, I think in property management, because there's so many unique situations,
Mhm.
sometimes there's no training manual for every scenario. So, you kind of have to be presented with it, and you're not always going to handle it the correct way. It will tell you how to handle it next time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's how I have my entire career has been based on putting one foot in front of the other and hoping for the best.
That story really, like how you just put that really resonates. I wanna just tag what you just said. What is it? It's about making the right mistakes to get the
Yeah.
lessons or something like that. That's a quote card. Like I'm gonna look back at that. Let's make a quote card about that one. I feel like so I also if we're gonna get into the generational conversation here, right? Of this like anxious generation and stuff like
Hmm.
I just turned 45 on Sunday, right? So I'm born in 80 and one could say that I'm a young Gen Xer or an elder millennial, however you want to put it. I identify much more with the millennial moniker because I think that I was definitely I'm the youngest, so like I was very overparented and something that
Hmm.
you just said really rung true to me in my own personal journey of I basically like restarted my career at 38 looking for something completely different because I felt that I had never been put in a place where I could fail enough for me to like understand whether I'm full of crap or not.
Yeah.
And I had to follow my own path. And, I'm happy I've done it, right? Like 7 years later, I would have never imagined I'm doing what I'm doing right now and being this happy and loving work. But what you're saying of this, like this generation that's coming up before us, that the incidence of that, right? Like the overparenting has been much more normalized. The
Yes.
idea that like their whole life has been on the internet, so people are going to find out if you mess up is,
Hmm.
is is very, very real. And as leaders, like we don't have to have some kind of weird like savior complex or parental complex, but like if we really want to form great teammates and help them become the best people that they are, allowing them to fail is going to be one of those crucial things that we're going to have to make peace with.
Yeah, one of our internal core values is like you make the call, like we support. Like, and the entire idea is like informed decision making.
Yeah.
And like, obviously like don't do something stupid, but if you feel like you have prepped enough, and I want you to make the decision. I want you to trust your instincts that you know how to make this decision. And I tell all of my employees, like, I will back you up unless it's something really negligent or, you're doing something ridiculous. But I will back you up. If you can prove to me why you made that decision,
Yeah.
I am here for you, just like a parent. Just, like, let's talk through it. And because as leaders, we can't have our team coming to us 50 times a day.
Yeah.
It makes them overly cautious, overly anxious. I need them to trust themselves, and they're not going to do that if they feel like they have to come to me for every other thing.
100% agree. Let's talk about the generation thing, right? Like you said, like you told me in our prep to this, you're like, I think as an elder millennial, I'm uniquely qualified for this.
Yeah.
Unpack that for me.
Yeah, so I'm 41, almost 42. I definitely feel like I qualify as that elder millennial. I had a computer in our house. It was like the one desktop, and like we had a landline, and you couldn't be on the internet at the same time. I remember my dad would be like, "Get off the internet," the
I gotta make a phone
dial-up.
call. Yeah, yeah.
But because of that, we had like the iPod and the BlackBerry. Our generation was kind of that first one to tinker, to have the Game Boy and have like
Mhm.
video games. So I think there's something about our generation that's like inherently curious about technology.
Yeah.
But I also think being of this generation, we I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and have a phone call. I am not afraid of having that interpersonal, like I'm not too hidden behind a screen.
Yeah.
And because I started in property management with like a file like Rolodex and like faxing work orders, and like it's given me a unique perspective of being able to shift with the times, that I think someone coming into it, they're going to be great with technology, but they're not necessarily going to have everything that I have in my back pocket from
Yeah.
seeing, having a tech stack of like 10 different, I mean, that's insane to
Yeah.
think of. We had one product when I first started, it was Promise, and it had to be installed on a server. So if the server went down, you had to go boot it back up again, and you were hoping that you could, pull it up. You couldn't access it on your phone. There was no
Uh-huh.
working from home. It
Yeah.
was, so your brain works a little bit differently. Everybody talks about like, what happens if we lose everything? What are you going to do? There was a great cybersecurity session at NARPM National, and
I
he
heard
said,
about that.
do you
Yeah.
have a backup plan if your systems go down? How are you going to run your company? If you're 25 and you've only operated on cloud-based
Yeah.
softwares, what are you going to do? So, anyways, that's
Yeah.
that's my spiel on being an older millennial.
You know what I like about it, Courtney, is because the discipline of category design is something I talk a lot about on this podcast because it's something I think about a lot, right? And the guys that are like the foremost thinkers in that world are called the category pirates, and they spent like 6 months talking about this idea that there's officially a new category of human being, right? Like we are at the dawn of we were all native analogs, and now these new human beings are native digitals, right? Like somewhere younger than us, right? Like somewhere in there, like we went from, hey, out here's the real world, and then like we have, thanks to COVID, we now understand that the online world is real too, and the outside world is real also. But there's a generation of people where their primary interface with reality is the online world, and they're digital natives, and they talk a lot about this idea of like, okay, native analog gets to someone's house, they ring the doorbell. Digital native gets to someone's house, they text. Right? Like
Ah,
there's all these different behaviors, but what they haven't talked about is something that you're bringing to light to me, that is, I think us elder millennials are the bridge, right? Because we have lived in both worlds
mm-hmm.
sufficiently where it's like a little bit older than us, they're too distance from being able to truly normalize a digital native life, and like a little bit younger than us, they've never lived the native analog life, and we have. So I think there's a lot to be said about the bridge builders that were born somewhere between, I don't know, 1978 and 1988 kind of thing.
Yeah, think about just the skill of getting on a phone call with an
Yeah.
upset person.
Yeah.
Like that is a underrated skill.
Yeah.
And if you are used to only sending an email or only hiding behind a screen,
Yeah.
it can be very difficult. And,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of the Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're probably going to struggle with that.
Yeah, I think they are struggling with it. Like
Yeah.
we have these conversations. My wife's an architect and she manages a team of younger architects, and her her like number one thing is like, dude, stop using Teams to communicate when there's an issue. Walk over, bring a set of drawings, and jump into it.
Yeah.
And it's
My
our job to teach him that, right?
my coworker was we just switched to Rentvine, and so we're in the throes of this transition,
Mm.
and she's emailing back and forth with support, and she literally goes, "Can we just hop on a phone call? Like, I feel like we can solve this in like 5 minutes." Like,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Yeah, we could do that." But it took her being like, "Please, can we just talk? Can we just talk on the phone?" Because
Yeah.
that's not the go-to. That's not the immediate resolution for most people. They actually veer completely outside of that.
I wonder if in the bigger question of this podcast that we're asking, right? Like how do you hire someone for to be your AI integrator? We're really talking about like what's the true structure of a team here that can succeed. And one is to have that AI integrator, and maybe the idea of like who is the doula of that AI integrator might be, you might be looking for someone that's lived in both AI, like native digital and native analog worlds, right? Like somebody of kind of like our overlap of generation, kind of like people to have that empathy to be able to teach the soft skills while
Yes.
also having the lack of fear of technology as well.
Yeah, because I think the ultimate goal with AI is to free up your time so that you can have that difficult conversation, so that you can, have the time to have that one-on-one with your employee. When I hear that people are, I don't have time to have, a daily huddle, or I don't have time, free up time. That's when you say, how can I make more? Everybody wants like more hours in the day. That's what AI is doing for us.
Yeah, totally. And that's a really good segue. That at the end of the day has been kind of like the finding in me writing the book and kind of like crystallizing what's happening. It is the idea of what we are really missing in property management is that human touch, because we are so overburdened by all these tasks and the forever firefight of like reactivity to maintenance and all these different kind of like emotional
Yeah.
components that come with real estate. And while everybody else is worried about AI taking jobs in other sectors, in property management, I think it's really going to right size jobs into stuff that doesn't suck and allow
Yeah, right.
and allow people to like not burn out and not have terrible mental health.
Yeah.
If you understand that change is coming and AI is this giant industrial revolution, you're going to want to work with a company that is AI by DNA. And that, my friend, is Vendoroo. We are a native agentic AI solution built from the ground up with this assumption that the AI future is here. And what Vendoroo does, it is able to handle 80 to 85% of all maintenance work orders from beginning to end, while elevating that extra 15 to 20% so that you can actually take care of it. And most importantly, just getting you out of the grind and the forever firefight of maintenance so you can do other things. Like one of our clients hired Vendoroo.ai, and within 6 months, the amount of time that saved her from maintenance, she dedicated herself to business development. She started adding 10 doors a month over the last 6 months. It's been 60 new doors. It's been a huge change, huge growth for her business, way more profitable. So if you want to do that, you want to get yourself out of the mundane, get your team out of the mundane, let them focus on stuff that really, really matters. Go to Vendoroo.ai, book a demo with us, and we would love to help you build an agentic AI property management business. Vendoroo.ai, book a demo. Enjoy the rest of the show. Let's dive into what you are actually doing with AI, right? Like I think we floated. You're obviously on here because you're an advanced kind of like AI implementer. Tell me a little bit about like what y'all have been able to accomplish that you didn't think was possible 3 years ago.
Yeah, we leaned very heavily into Chat GPT early on. My integrator, he created custom GPTs for each department,
Yeah.
so that and basically uploaded a brand voice so that we could, each of my team could go and it would be a uniform kind of tone in how we wanted to respond. We were able to create a GPT for inspection reports so that we were able to, instead of like the manual reviewing of these reports from the third party, we were able to pop it in, get it sent to the owner, automate. We use Lead Simple. So we've been automating our leads using Zapier as well. He also created an internal wiki through Google Notebook LM, which has been fantastic for those like one-off questions that I don't want to answer. We've dabbled in Betty Who with Better Who. That's really helped us finalize our policies and procedures. We just rolled out a new website and we've got an AI bot on there, which I can take zero credit for, but it has just been being able to feed it all the information and hopefully convert. The goal will be to convert some leads quicker that way, just by someone being able to get their questions answered, 24/7. We just signed up for Loom AI. I'm using Descript as well. That's something that I'm working with Jay on. So yeah, just like all these little tools, and a lot of it is fun if you think about it. But the easiest thing is the Google Notebook LM and ChatGPT. But it was Sal putting the work in and creating those custom GPTs that made a huge difference.
Let's pretend like the person that is hanging out with us right now doesn't know what any of this stuff is, and let's try to like simplify it, right? So custom GPTs that you said you trained with a brand voice and allowed people to communicate. What is that?
The easiest way to explain it is like a mini version of each department it's like its own person, its own Wikipedia page that kind of you feed it all this information, and so it already knows what. Let's say you feed it like your policies on leases, or for instance the inspection GPT. It knows what we're looking for, so we were able to feed it, hey, these are like, we want you to flag A, B, and C. We want you to summarize this part of it. We want you to highlight the smoke alarms. And every time I feed you a report, I want you to create a customer or client-facing email that summarizes this. And I want you to look for red flags. I want you to look for problem areas. So instead of normally with ChatGPT, you're prompting it every time. When you create your custom GPT, that homework is already done on the front end. And you can create one for your own company that says, I'm Allegiance Property Management. I'm a boutique property management firm in Northern Virginia. I serve mostly accidental landlords. These are my core values. This is my mission statement. So I want my brand voice to come across as, empathetic and caring, but transparent. Like, we're very big on giving like honest advice, and we're not going to sugarcoat something. So the idea is you feed it all this information and then it kind of eats it up, and then it can give you better answers in the real time.
Love it. Love it. Well said, right? Like there's a layer inside of ChatGPT that you can go into where you can be like, hey, I'm going to create this custom GPT. And in there, you can give it all these different things that you said to create like a specific type of like outcome more consistently, right? Like
Exactly. Consistency is key, right? And that's the biggest thing, so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah, I have genuine affection towards the custom GPT that I created, which I wrote this book with, right? Like,
Yeah.
and my newsletter and all that type of stuff, right? Like, and that was, for me, and I have my marketing agency, right? So I have multiple clients as well, and each of them have custom GPTs to write a newsletter, to write social posts, to do stuff with things like you said, right? So like what I'm hearing, so that's the synopsis of what it is and how it happens, and I think the curious person that's listening can go do it. Outcome that you've created, if I'm going to distill it down based on these custom GPTs, is the ability to feed it a whole bunch of like information that a human used to have to like digest and summarize in a specific way, and make it happen in a way that you love every single time. That
Yep.
takes a second instead of 3 hours or 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And so the easiest way to use it is, responding to an email, and you can even prompt it to de-escalate, or if it's, answering basic questions on your resident benefit package, it already has that information. So the brain power, you're not using your own. Obviously, you need to look at what you're putting out before you put it out there, but it has that information. And Google Notebook LM is an offshoot of that. It's more, you upload all of your documents to it and it's connected to your Google account. So we have our management agreement, our lease agreement, our tenant handbook, all of the compliance documents that are required under Virginia, they're all up there. And so it is similar to ChatGPT. You can ask it a question. It will create a podcast for you. You can create, I've heard of people doing quizzes for their team members where they're basically training their team on, the Virginia Residential Landlord Tenant Act. And it's just another resource for your team to go to that has centralized.
Yeah, I haven't messed a lot with Google LM, so I am Notebook LM, so I am curious. The way I understand it is kind of how you just said it, right? So these chat GPTs create these like perfect outputs. I feel like Notebook LM is kind of like a perfect question answer.
Yeah,
Like it's like if I were to have oh man, I said the word
like an
encyclopedia.
encyclopedia.
Yeah, I was about to say I said the word encyclopedia earlier today on a Zoom call, and I was like, oh my God, those don't exist anymore. Right?
Yeah,
So it's like it's an encyclopedia, but like instead of having to like go read something, it's just
yes.
it gives you the answer to
It's
like
like instant information, right?
yeah,
You're like, what does the VRLTA say about like mold? And it's going to spit out,
yeah,
landlord has 30 days to remediate. They got to put the tenant in a hotel. The tenant pays rent. And you're
yeah,
like, man, that would have taken me at least 20 minutes to like scroll through Virginia code. And so for me, it's nice to have that it's kind of, I could be the encyclopedia for the company, but I don't want to be.
yeah. It's the librarian that's read every book in the library.
Yes, yeah, but it's like, don't come to me,
Yeah,
like your
yeah,
kid's bugging you, like,
yeah. Cool.
go
All right.
ask your dad.
Yeah, so that's Notebook LM. I like that. That's a
Yeah,
good that helped me out. Um, that web chatbot thing, it sounds like the sexiest thing that you've talked about. Tell me.
I'm so excited about it. Yeah, we shout out to PMW. They did our website, and I was even testing it out because, I'm like very cautious about everything that goes out, and I'm like, okay, this bot is going to answer questions, so I kept giving it different questions. It answered correctly the entire time. And then my other employee, Wilson, he actually did training on this type of AI bot. So he like jumped right in. He knew exactly how it worked. You can like real time, if he's sitting at the computer and doesn't have anything going on, he can jump in and be that live representative for the person. But yeah, it was very cool. And it's fed by all of the information that I gave it. And ChatGPT helped me build out a lot of my website content because it already knew my brand voice. It already knew my mission and vision. So that in itself was a time saver for how do I create like a tenant FAQ? And you
Yeah.
already know my lease and here's our handbook.
Mhm.
Give me 20 tenant FAQs based on my lease docs. And it's done in minutes.
Okay, so now you're talking about ChatGPT creating the thing that you then teach your web app to do, right? So now
Yeah.
you're using
Yep.
AI to train an AI
Yeah.
to help you out, right? So that's next level. The stuff that goes into this like web chat bot thing sounds like it can answer FAQs.
Oh
Can
yeah.
can it answer specific like, hey, what properties are available?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I asked, a big question we usually get is like, do you handle Washington, D.C.? So that was like a question I asked. It gave affirmative no, which was good. I don't want, I love D.C. I don't want to manage properties there. But yeah, it'll tell you what properties are available to rent. And then the information also helps with our SEO, which is super cool. It keeps, hopefully gets us higher in the search ratings, which again, elder millennial, I don't know a ton about this stuff, but I know enough that it helps. So I'm like, take my money and just help me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that is what can it not answer? Like what's the limit of that little web app that you created?
Ooh, that's a good. I haven't gotten that point that far.
Okay. Okay. All right. Interesting. And then
Yeah.
what are you feeding? So you're basically feeding it documentation and written stuff that you are prompting ChatGPT because you've already trained your ChatGPT and your Notebook LM to like give you answers to things.
Yeah, it's all on the website, and then the AI bot is pulling information that's already website facing.
And that's something that that's something someone on your team built or PMW built that for you?
PMW built it.
Okay. They built that for you. And then your team gave them the information for what this chatbot is able to answer.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's cool. Anything else? Any other cool AI thing that you're doing that maybe other people aren't doing?
Oh, I use Plod.
Yeah.
So I have a little voice recorder that I use, and it is fantastic because I started using it primarily on in-person, lead calls. And obviously I tell them I'm wearing it. I ask them if they're okay with it. It records our entire conversation because what I was finding is I have a lot of older homes in Arlington and Alexandria, and I'm having this hour-long conversation with this person that I'm trying to get to be my client. So I'm trying to build rapport and trust. I'm like petting their dog. I'm asking about their kids. They're telling me vacation trips, but then they're like, the hot water heater is 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I was forgetting stuff,
Yeah.
obviously. And I'm trying to take notes, but then when you're taking notes, you can't be present in the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So with Plod, I don't have to think about that. I can be fully present. And then at the end of it, you get your transcript and it
Huh.
gives you different features for how you want to give a synopsis of your voice recording.
Is this a piece of hardware or is this an app on your phone?
It's a piece of hardware. Yeah,
Okay.
I can grab it if I'd have to go off camera for a
Nah, don't worry about
second.
it. Just tell me, how do you spell it?
PLAUD.
PLOUD. Okay,
And
cool.
you can wear it as a necklace or it just clips on. It's like a little, it looks like a lipstick almost. It looks
Yeah, I
like
see
this.
it. I feel like I need this for trade shows.
Yeah, yes, you remember it. So basically, what would happen is I could take my transcript
Mm-hmm.
or my outline from Plod, dump it into ChatGPT,
Yeah.
ask it to summarize it for me, ask it to do an client-facing email, and then in my email, I can comment on their lovely dog or like the vacation they just took, and I
Yeah.
can summarize that their water heater needs to be replaced
Mm.
and that, echo their timeline. So it's like, oh wow, she was really listening when we were talking. And
It
I,
was my AI that was listening.
right? I'm like, I was listening,
Yeah.
but I had some help. So I used it on a move out inspection. I haven't done a move out inspection in years. And I found myself having to, step in real quick. And I'm like, I don't want to take notes on this. So I turned it on and I just narrated to myself as I walked through this property. And it basically created the entire inspection for me, all my notes, and it's just a huge time saver.
I'm about to buy a plod right now.
Everyone needs a plod.
Yeah. Everyone needs a plod. Let's sell some plods. Who wants a plod?
Every hour, right? Where's my
This
sponsorship?
honestly, this might be a great gift to give to people as like a client outreach being an AI company, right? So, anyways, tell me about so this thing transcribes it and then it has like a specific set of like prompts that it then teases things out, or have you figured out like I'm hearing what you're saying and I hear, all right, so I have this transcript. I would then go stick this into ChatGPT and say, okay, what were personal details that I can bring up in a further conversation that would make them seem that I'm paying attention?
Yeah.
What are next to do items that I promised? What are potential like what are like talk me through like what prompts you've like developed to like use this thing really well.
Yeah, well, the great thing with Plod is it's kind of like its own chat GPT and it will summarize your meeting.
Mhm.
And it gives you action notes. And then it also, at the end, it gives you a list of things that you were unclear about. It's like, hey, you probably need to like have a deeper conversation on these items because you weren't super clear on, if they had to replace that water heater. And so there's different functions within Plod. You have to pay for a subscription, but you can basically ask it how you want it to summarize your transcript. You can also just upload videos. So let's say you forgot your plot or like the battery died. You could then just use your phone and video something and then upload the video to Plod and then it would give you a transcript as well.
Do you wear the necklace or the wristband?
I wear neither. I clip it on. So I have the necklace, but it felt really clunky. So
Yeah.
I just had it like clips on like a little, like a microphone almost.
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
And
gonna
I
look.
just tell people, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I use this voice recorder? It's so I don't forget any details for like what we talk about today. And I have had zero people push back on it.
I'm literally buying this for my event team, right? Like I'm gonna buy it for myself and I'm gonna buy it for my event team. This is freaking brilliant. Okay, cool. I think I'm gonna start gifting people this thing.
It's honestly, Jay, I have to give credit where credit's due. This was
Yeah.
from Jay Barabee. He got it for me. And it was, yeah, it was like
Let's
my
let's
favorite
give
present.
credit to Jay. Jay, I feel like
Jay, yeah.
I feel like there's been so much Jay talk in this conversation about finding the right who and like
Right.
this
What's
is
your
the type of conversation.
superpower?
Yeah, tell me about your like I love Jay. I've become such good friends with him. What is the work that you do with him and why is he so good at it?
Yeah, so he's my coach. He's my business coach. And I met him about 2 years ago at a Virginia State NARPM conference. We ended up going out to dinner with like a big group. We sat right next to each other. I had never seen him, met him in my life, but he's one of those people that like when they talk to you, they just like look in your soul and like immediately know you. And it was one of those conversations where I feel like he was like, "So are you happy with your life?" And I was like, "No, like I was just at this crossroads in my business where
Yeah.
I was like drowning." And so we kind of, in a lot of ways, he's a sounding board or like a cheerleader, but just Better Who has helped me tremendously with my business. We've become more efficient, more profitable, double the employees, and my quality of life, my work-life balance is just so
Mm.
much better. So,
That's a great testimonial we're gifting him right now. The way that I describe his work, right? Because like there's probably about like four people in the coaching space that I've become really good friends with, and I try to categorize all of them to be able to give referrals to. And I recommend him as like he's kind of like the coach in the space that's really made a point of being the most knowledgeable on all things AI, and
mhm.
also how that relates to from like an org chart standpoint. Like if you are hiring a coach to grow, you're going to have to figure out how to like either hire people or use AI to grow, and he's able to help you put the right people in place and or the technology in place to continue to grow. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, for sure. They have a great thing going at Better Who because they have their team consulting, and so you get kind of the knowledge of all of that, like Matt and Alex and Michelle, who all of them have worked in the property management space, and Jay. So they really took like a team approach. Like they interviewed my team members. They dove deep into like what people liked doing, what they didn't like doing. It sounds silly, but like I never asked them those questions, right? Like, no, you got hired to do a job and this is what you do. But then you realize people will excel when they're doing something they enjoy. And then they obviously have their remote team recruiting side of the business. But yeah, I've had, great luck working with them and they're just really good people. But my advice to anybody in this space, I hired a consultant, over 10 years into my career.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't think there's ever like it's never too late to like invest in yourself and decide that you want to make something different for your business. So that was a big aha moment. Like I kind of felt like I was stuck and I wanted more after doing the same thing for so long.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, I get it. So we've sold some Plod, we've sold some Better Who today.
Yeah.
I think we have really good bones. Like I see myself writing a newsletter from this about like how to find, what it takes to find the right person that's going to be your AI integrator and how to lead them, right? Like I feel like that was pretty good. Anything else that you wish we would have touched on that you had top of mind coming into this?
No, this was fantastic. I feel like we hit everything. We hit stuff I didn't even think we were going to. So,
Yeah, cool, Courtney. I appreciate you doing this. Like we shared the stage at the summit. It was clear that what you're talking about. Like it was awesome getting to know you at NARPM Nationals. I'm just super pumped that we got to do this and all
yeah.
I think we created. So thanks for taking time to do this. I'm
Yeah, no, thank you
friends.
for asking and the opportunity. I love just chatting anything property management. If anybody is listening to this and they're like scared on where to start, like just reach out to me. I don't mind like even baby steps is
What's
enough.
what's the best way to reach out to you?
LinkedIn's great. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. That was great.